Okay, hello everybody. Happy Tuesday. As you guys know, I told you yesterday that um I am doing class-wise presentations right now for today. Reminder with my class-wise presentations to the other teachers that if your laptop goes, like if your internet pauses at all during class today, or if maybe I close out one of your tabs or something, just know that it's because I'm giving the presentation. I don't actually mean it unless I am like, I'm still going to be watching you because I'm giving this presentation. Everything you do today, if you are not watching this presentation, if you're not on your Desmos, I will see it, and so will all of the teachers that I'm presenting to, because I'm using the whichever class it currently is, that's the class I am using to present. So during 3-4, I'm using my 3-4 class to present. During 5-6, I'm using my 5-6 class to present. So if you're not on what you're not supposed to be on, I will close you. The other teachers that I'm presenting to will see that I close you. So keep all of this in mind. And I am still in the building. I am only really presenting during the odd periods. So if I need to come back upstairs, if the sub or somebody tells me that they're having difficulties with a student, I will be downstairs. I can come right upstairs, contact home, write a detention, whatever I need to. If there are any issues today, it will be a detention for Thursday. But we're all going to be great students like we are. So let's go ahead, get started for today. First things first is your warm up. So let me just present. Let me just share my whole screen. So this is not your warm up. Here is the warm up. Hold on, friends. Okay, this is the warm up for day 2 for Tuesday. So please pause your screen here. Make sure that you answer all of these questions on your warm-up paper. So plot the 0.02 on the graph. Tell me what the slope is. Find those pretty points on here. Tell me, is this a positive or a negative slope for number 3? And for the word problems, answer the word problem on number 4. Okay, go ahead and do that. Okay, so when I go to check warm-ups, whether I check for tomorrow, whether I decide I'm going to check Tuesday and Wednesday, or if I just wait until conferences Monday, I will be checking to see that you have these warm-ups done. Okay, so now that we are done with the warm-up, we are going to do a Desmos first. No, just kidding. Just kidding. We're going to do these notes papers and then the Desmos. So please, 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 get this notes paper from the sub if you have not gotten this notes paper from them yet. We are going to complete these notes and then you're going to do the Desmos. It's probably during these notes that your internet will pause or do something funny. So, if this happens, just wait a second, wait until I unpause your internet or open the slide, open your tab back up. Whatever I mess up, just you can either keep on working on this worksheet or just like wait a second for the internet to keep working. I'm not going to pause it for long. It's going to be more so to show people that this is something they can do. Okay. So, rate of change or slope. Slope and rate of change are the same thing, friends. So there are 4 different types of slope. We are going to talk more about this tomorrow, but there is a positive slope. That is when our line is increasing from left to right. There's a negative slope when the line is decreasing from left to right. We talked about these yesterday. There is a zero slope if the line is straight horizontal. It is a zero slope. My 7-8 talked about that yesterday. And then if it is straight up and down, it is undefined. It is not a number. The slope is not a positive number. It's not a negative number. It's not the number 0. It is undefined. And we will share more about why this is later on. So today we're going to focus on finding the slope. We already know how to do this with a graph. I'm going to just quickly go over doing rise over run. We've been doing height divided by base. We'll be doing rise over run from here on out. So you're going to hear me start saying the rise and then the run to go from one point to another point. The slope formula is a great way if you are given 2 points, but you're not given the graph. So this slope formula is very important. We're going to be spending a lot of time doing this today. Those that had target practice with me last week, this is what we're doing with target practice. So those that had my target practice this week, you guys are going to be the pros on this today. And then we're going to look at it from a table. So there's 2 different ways we can do it from a table. We can see how things are changing from my x's to my y's and doing my change in y divided by the change in x. Or just know that the table is also 2 points and you can still use the slope formula. So -3, 11 and -1, 8 are 2 different points. So I can use the slope formula with the table as well. So let's go ahead and do some practice. Use the slope formula to find the slope of the line that passes through the points -3, 4 and 8, -7. So this slope formula here, the important part, first of all, M is another way of saying slope. We're going to talk more about that too later on. But if it says M equals, it's saying the slope is equal to that number. So the slope formula is like this part here. So the little numbers is talking about the coordinates. So this here is my first coordinate. It's the first one that they gave me. This one is my second coordinate. It is the second coordinate that it gave me. If they gave me in opposite orders, then it would switch. This one would be my first, this one would be my second. The slope would still be the same. But what I want you guys to always just focus on and do so that you don't make a mistake is whichever one they tell you first, make that your first one. Whichever one they tell you second, make that your second one. So if it says y2, it wants the y value from your second point. y1 is your y value from your first point. x2 is the x value from your second point. x1 is your x value from your first point. So this point here, so -3 is the x1. So it's the x value for my first point. 4 is my y1. It's the y value for my first point. If I'm looking at this one here, -7, I kind of did them in the wrong order. Sorry, guys. -7 is the y on my second point. So this is my y2. Let me turn these into equal signs. And then my 8 is my x2. So I definitely probably kind of mixed this up a little bit, but that just means you guys need to pay extra close attention as we are putting things in order. So now that we know which number is my x1, y1, y2, x2, we're going to replace them in the formula. So y2 minus y1. y2 is -7 minus y1, which my y1 is +4. So I've got -7 minus 4 divided by my x2. x2 we said was 8 minus my x1 we said was -3. So we have -7 minus 4 divided by 8 minus -3. So -7 minus 4. This is why we were practicing adding and subtracting integers last week. -7 minus 4 is -11. 8 minus -3, because this is minus a negative, it is going to become plus a positive. So 8 plus 3 is going to be 11. Now we're going to divide. -11 divided by 11 is equal to -1. So M equals -1, or my slope equals -1. So if I was to plot these 2 points on a graph and I drew a line connecting them, the slope of that line is -1. So you do not need the line on the graph to figure out the slope. There is actually a formula that we could do it. This formula is not something you need to memorize. It will be given to you for testing, all testing, map testing, MCAT testing, the unit test, this formula will be given to you. So you do not need to memorize it. The biggest thing you need to know is what these mean. So the y is the y values. The 1 and 2 are talking about your first point and your second point. Okay. My next one, this is what we have been working on, finding the slope from the line. We know that this slope is decreasing, which means it's going to be a negative number. Whatever we get for our slope is a negative number. And we want to find ourselves some pretty points. So I'm looking for a pretty point. I've got one right here. I'm going to keep going. I've got a pretty point. Oh, this one's kind of difficult to see my pretty points. Hold up. Hold up, hold up. Did they give us a bad one? Friends, the point I gave you was not a pretty point, and of course I did this on not an erasable pen. Ignore this. If you did this point, please erase it. That is not one of our pretty points. Luckily on the back side of this paper, it gives you the pretty points for you. Okay, so I've got a pretty point right here. And I have a pretty point. That's not a pretty point either. Oh my gosh, do I need to pull up my cheat sheet? Let me pull up my cheat sheet real quick. Y'all will get to see it. Ignore my emails, ignore my emails, ignore my emails. Okay. So this graph just kind of stinks a little bit. This one is a pretty point here. Or so they say. My answer key says that that's a pretty point. So we know we're going to take our pretty points. Friends, this one was a very, very bad example, and I'm so sorry. Again, the ones that you're going to do on the back, it gives you the pretty points. Make sure that you are drawing on the grid lines. So I'm going down 1, and I'm going over 3. So my rise is down 1, my run is 3. So rise over 1, run is 1 over 3. And because it's decreasing, it is a negative 1/3. It is a negative 1/3 because it is decreasing. Okay. So I do know I do have some friends who are struggling finding the slope using the slope triangle. So if you can find 2 pretty points, you can always use this formula with the 2 points that you find instead of drawing the slope triangle. Just a heads up. Okay, find the slope of the line that passes through the points in the table below. So remember this one is the change in y divided by the change in x. So we want to look at how much are my y values changing by. So from -7 to -9, it looks like it's going up, but it's actually going down. -7 to -9. I owe $7 and now I owe $9. I'm owing more money. So it's going down by 2. -9 to -11, it's going down by 2. So that's my change in y. The triangle, a triangle symbol also means change. So change in y divided by change of x. My change in my y's are -2. And now my change in x from 8 to 6, I'm going down 2. From 6 to 4, I'm going down 2. So my change in x is also -2. -2 divided by -2 gives me a positive 1. So if we were to graph these points, they would give us a positive 1, a slope of positive 1. Again, you can also use the slope formula. So if I'm using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 here, I can pick any 2 points. So I'm just going to do my first and second point. So my y value for my second point is this one. My first point is this one. The y is -9. The x for my second point is 6. I'm subtracting both of those. My y1, the y value for my first point is -7. And then minus my x1, my x value for my first point is 8. -9 minus -7, that's the same as +7. So -9 plus 7 gives me -2. 6 minus 8 also gives me -2, which is the same thing that we got above, which equals +1. Okay, so if the table is nice enough to do it like this, you can just do the change in y divided by the change in x. Really, the table is just a visual version of the slope formula. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to do 2, 4, and 6 with you. Then we are going to move on to the Desmos, and you guys will complete 1, 3, 5, 7, and 8 after the Desmos. So number 2, it says find the slope of the line that passes through the points -6, -8, and -6, 12. So -6, so this is my first point. This is my second point. So -6 is my x value, so this is going to be x1. -8 is my y value, so this is going to be y1. In my second point, -6 is my x value, so this is going to be x2. 12 is my y value, so this is going to be y2. Okay, so now we use our slope formula. Again, that is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And we are just going to fill in the numbers that we have here. So my y2 is 12 minus my y1. My y1 is -8 divided by my x2. My x2 is -6 minus my x1 is also -6. Now this one is a fun, interesting one because, well, you'll see why when we get to our answer here. So 12 minus -8 minus a negative becomes plus a positive. So we have 12 plus 8, which gives me 20. And then we have -6 minus -6 minus a negative becomes plus a positive again. So we have -6 plus 6, which is 0. Now, this is why it is interesting, because if you were to use a calculator and in your calculator you did 20 divided by 0, it's going to give you an error. This is why a line that's straight up and down is undefined, because you cannot divide anything by 0. Doesn't matter what we try. If I did 18 divided by 0, it's going to give me error. If I did 6 divided by 0, it's going to give me an error. If I did 0 divided by 0, it's going to give me an error. So if you solve this and you ever get 0 on the bottom, your answer, your slope M, is going to be undefined. And I'm going to show you, if I was to put these 2 points onto a Desmos graph. So I open my graphing calculator. I put the points -6, -8 on here. And I do -6, 12 on here. And I zoom out to show you where those points are. Notice I can draw a straight line through those points. Do they give me a straight line tool? Here we go. I can draw a straight line through these points like this. It is straight up and down. So just like our note said on the front, being a straight up and down line. Ah, I didn't mean to stop sharing. Sorry, friends. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, well. So just like we said on the front, if it's a straight up and down line, it is undefined. And that is because if you try to divide anything by 0, it doesn't work. Okay, my next one, number 4, like I said, it gave us the pretty points for us. So this will make it a little bit easier. And so we are going to do our rise and our run, making that slope triangle. Our rise, we went down 2. Our run, we went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I did rise over run, it would be 2 over 5. And notice this line is decreasing again. And that is why I put a -2 here, because it's going down and then to the right. So this answer, our slope is -2/5. Okay. The last one I'm doing with you guys on here, number 6, find the slope of the line that passes through the points in the table. So notice these are x's. Oh no, our x's are going up by the same amount here. Ignore me. Our y's from 10 down to 8 is -2. From 8 down to 6, it is also -2. From -5 to 1 to +1, that is adding 6. From 1 to 7, that is also adding 6. Fun fact, because we know it is linear, we know that this is a straight line. I'm not giving you any that's not a straight line right now. You don't have to do this for both of them. You only really need to do the top 2 points, and you can make the ratio with just the top 2, so the -2 and the +6. So it's my change in y divided by my change in x. So the change that's happening to my y's is -2. The change that's happening to my x values is +6, so +6. Now I need to simplify -2 divided by 6. It's not a whole number, so I'm going to simplify it. My slope is -2 over 6 simplifies to -1/3. Simplifies to -1/3. Remember, m just means slope. Okay, I said I'm not doing 8 with you, and I'm not going to do 8 with you, but 8 is different, so I want to talk about it. 2 things I want to talk about. Notice this table is sideways instead of up and down. So the top numbers are my x values, the bottom numbers are my y values. So 5 and this missing one that you have to fill out is a point together. 2, 4 is a point. -1, 8 is a point. -7, oh my gosh, I can't speak. -7 and this one is a point. -10, 20 is a point. Something and 24 is a point. And then -19 and 32 is a point. So you're going to have to fill in these missing values, and it wants you to find the slope. Okay, so make sure you're paying attention. One way I would think about doing this is finding the slope between these 2 points right now. Find the slope between these 2 points, and then you can find the slope or find the answers to these other ones. Okay? It is a little tricky, but I do believe in you guys when you guys get to number 8. Okay. Let's switch to our Desmos now. So I do not want you completing 1, 3, 5, 7, and 8 until you are done with the Desmos. So in Google Classroom, you will see a Desmos titled Copy of Landing Planes. This will be green tomorrow. Or really, when you're watching this will be green. You'll be able to click on it. Copy of Landing Planes. And we have to find the slope that of the line that the plane is flying to land the plane. So we're finding the slope. We have the plane's point is 2, 3. So we have the point 2, 3. And the end of the runway is at 7, 9. So we need to find the slope so that we have the line here, so that our plane goes through here. All we are doing is calculating the slope. You don't have to write the equation for this line. We're just finding the slope of it. And to do this, we need to use that slope formula. So I want to do oops, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this, the best way to like write on here for you guys. Okay, so my 2 is my x1. Don't know the best way to do this. I'm sorry, friends. I'm sorry. Give me a sec. Okay, my 2 here is my x1. Yikes. Don't make fun of me. My 3 is my y1. My 7 is my x2. And my 9 is my y2. I would suggest getting a piece of paper to do this math. You'll see that I am writing this out on my computer. You guys will need to write this out on a scrap piece of paper so you can actually do the math. Okay, so my equation, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So my y2 is 9. My y1 is 3. My x2 is 7. My x1 is 2. The reason why there's that like y1, y2, x1, x2 is because you need to make sure we have the same point above, the numbers for the same point above each other. So the 7 and the 9 are the same point, so the 7 needs to be below the 9. The 2 and the 3 are the same point, so the 2 needs to be below the 3. Okay, we see that the plane is going up this way, so it is a positive slope. So we should get a positive answer when we answer this. 9 minus 3 is 6. Ooh, that's an ugly 6. 7 minus 2 is 5. So I've got 6 over 5. That does not simplify. So we can just leave it as 6 bits or 6 over 5. If we click fly the plane, our plane will land on the runway. It will show us the line and the lights will turn green. Okay, let me erase. And move on to the next screen. Oh, this one didn't. Sad face. I was hoping that it would be in the right spot. Okay, now we are not able to see the points as easily, so that's why I was doing the slope formula instead of rise over run with our graphs. So it gives us a point 30 comma 50. We can see 30 and 50 here, and the point 37 comma 43. We can't see that one as easily, but 37, 43. So again, I am going to label my 30 here is my x1. My 50 is my y1. My 37 is my x2 because that's my second point. 43 is my y2 because that is my second point. Okay, the slope formula again, y2 minus y1. So 43 minus my y1, which is 50, divided by my x2, 37, minus my x1, which is 30. Again, notice 37 and 43 are the same point, so they're above each other. 30 and 50 are the same point, so they're above each other. Okay, 43 minus 50. Because my larger number is the second one, it's going to be a negative number. 43 minus 50 is negative 7. 37 minus 30 is positive 7. So if I did negative 7 divided by 7, that is going to equal negative 1. So my slope for this plane is negative 1. And you can double check that, because if I was to connect my plane's point and the end of the runway, it is a negative slope. It is decreasing. The plane is flying down. And you could do rise over run if you check it that way. And when I click fly plane, my plane will land perfectly on the runway. Okay. So I want you guys to go ahead and, no, just kidding, because there's other ones that you guys will get to do on your own. Ignore me. I will do this one with you as well to keep practicing with you. Okay. So my first point, negative 200 and negative 100. This is my x1. This is my y1. 600 is my x2. 300 is my y2. y2 minus y1. My y2 is 300. Minus my y1 is negative 100. So I need to do minus a negative 100. Divided by my x2 is 600. Minus my x1 is negative 200. Please make sure you guys are writing all of this down on a scrap piece of paper so you are practicing it. Okay, 300 minus negative 100. Minus a negative becomes plus a positive. And that is going to leave me with 300 plus 100 is 400. Divided by 600 minus negative 200. Again, minus a negative is plus a positive. So 600 minus negative 200 is 600 plus 200, which is 800. If I did 400 divided by 800 on here, it does give me 0.5, but I do want you guys to know how to simplify. If I did 400 divided by 800, that would simplify to 1/2. So the slope of this line should be 1/2. We can double check because it's given to us on a graph. We can double check it and see that this is a positive slope. So it is a positive 1/2. You will not always be given a graph to check it though. And our plane landed on the runway. Okay. This one is the one where you guys are going to work on your own. So you are going to, first thing you have to do is make your challenge. So you are plotting, you're coming up with whatever points you want. I feel like I always have students who get stuck on making their own challenge because they don't realize they can do whatever they want. Come up with whatever points you want to come up with. You can do 5, 6. You could do negative 10, 4. You could do really big numbers if you wanted, like the last one, negative 100, 600. Whatever you want is going to go into these areas here. So do not do the same one as me. Otherwise you will be losing points. So whatever you put, it's going to draw that for you on here. You're going to say, yes, I like that. If I don't like that, I can reset it, come up with something else, put new points in. But whatever you put in here, it's going to draw that for you, see if you like it. You are then going to hit the next button. You now need to answer your own problem. So you need to solve for your own problem. I've got 3, 4, 1, 2. If I was to go ahead and solve that, I would find out that my slope is positive 1. I'm going to land my plane perfectly, and then I can submit my challenge, and my challenge will pop up here. Again, you are not making the same challenge as me. If you make the same challenge as me, you'll be losing points. If you complete other students' challenges that are the same as mine, you'll be losing points. You need to do different challenges. So speaking of you doing different challenges, when I go to grade this, along with making sure that you did your notes, you did watch this video, you did the Desmos, I am going to be grading this specific slide. You need to, 1, make a challenge. The first thing you need to do is make your own challenge. You then also have to complete 3 different people. So if I make a challenge, I need to also complete 3 more people's problems. So if I'm in my 3-4 right now, I would have to make my challenge, and then I can also solve Havana's problem, Braylon's problem, and Manny's problem. Okay? So I have to make my own, solve my own, submit my challenge to the class, and then complete other people's. So once you are done, and it's gonna like pop up, you'll see other people's challenges here, and you'll have like a check on the ones that you did. You can also do all of them if you wanted to. But once you have 3 checks on the people you did and you have your own here, you are gonna move on to solving these ones. So we have a card sort, we have a positive slope, a negative slope, and a 0 slope. So you don't have to fully solve them. You just need to tell me, would the slopes be positive, negative, or 0? One way to do that is to fully solve them. So on that scrap paper that you should have, you can go ahead and solve the slope for these points. If it is 0 over a number, it's going to have 0 slope. 0 divided by something does equal 0. None of these are going to be undefined. None of these points are going to be something divided by 0. You might get 0 divided by something. If you end up with a negative divided by a positive or a positive divided by a negative, then you would have a negative slope. If you have a negative divided by a negative, it would be positive, or a positive divided by a positive, it would be positive. So you're going to sort these into whether it's a 0 slope, positive slope, or negative slope. I will be also looking to grade this slide. Then you have your lesson synthesis. You have the formula written 3 different ways. Keep in mind, so there's the one I taught you where this first point is your first one, this one is your second one. There is another one here that is also correct where this one would be your first point, this one would be your second point. So there are 2 correct calculations here. You can also solve them to make sure that they match up if you did rise divided by run. Which of these match up, which of these are not correct. Number 7, you are finding the slope between these 2 points here. So find the slope, just tell me what the slope is in this table. And that's all you're doing on slide 7. And then tell me how well you understood the lesson today. I can calculate positive and negative slopes when you're given 2 points on a line. I can describe a line precisely enough that another student can draw it. Okay, so tell me, how well did you understand the math lesson? How do you feel about this lesson today? And that is pretty much it for class today. So by the time you get to the end of this video, your warm-up should be done. You should have the notes done. You should have problems 2, 4, and 6 complete. You should have your Desmos completed. So I should see your class gallery is completely done now. You've answered 3 other people's class galleries and class challenges. Your card sort is done. You have sorted all of the cards. Your lesson synthesis and your cool down and your reflection are all complete. So your Desmos should be completely completed when I go to grade this. And now that you're done with your Desmos, you're at the end of this video, you are answering the rest of the questions on this paper. So you've got question 1, 2, 3. Sorry, that's not how the number look. 1, 3, 5, 7, and 8 left to do. Okay. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out via Google Classroom. Ask whichever sub is in here to send me a quick email. Maybe if I have time to actually come up here and like re-explain it to you, I can. By this point, I should be done with my class-wise presentation, hopefully, and it's in the events period now, either period 4, 6, or 8. And those will be the ones I can come up here for. Actually, 8th period, I might not be able to, but if there's any behavior issues, I will be able to come up here. Okay, have a great day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Please make sure you are bringing in your cans for the food drive, getting your homework done. Your homework is due on Thursday. And there was one more thing I wanted to remind you guys. Oh, your quiz is on Thursday, not on Wednesday now. So you have a quiz on Thursday. Okay. Bye, everyone.